Right, moving on to another category then. We're calling it dangerous handicappers, a horse that you think some of the lads here, maybe myself as well, handicapped. We'll rattle through this as quick as we can. We'll focus on David and Rob for the first two parts. So we get this every year. Talk of the Irish handicap marks, David, when coming to Cheltenham. Too lenient or what? What's your thoughts?
Well, sure. Obviously, there have been over the years, especially in the last decade or so. I'd imagine they won't be so nicely treated this time. All right, there's a few of them that I'd imagine will get a fair whack. But look, it's a very hard job to try and equate form from Ireland to England, and I don't envy the handicapper that has to try and set them all up and do what he thinks is right. It's one of the trickiest jobs, and I'm sure Brian will agree. It's not easy trying to collaborate all the form together. It's a tricky one. I personally would love to see, basically all the horses having the same rating in Ireland and England, and at least then in January and February what we're likely to be seeing in March. So it's going to be interesting to see what marks the Irish do get. But I'm sure there's a few that are going to be clobbered anyway, Gordon.
And whether it's, of course, in a handicap or whether it's a shorty in one of the graded races, don't forget at Novibet.ie, you get your money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP favourite at the Cheltenham Festival. There'll be extra places on offer every day as well. Same question to you, Rob, as I gave to David about the Irish handicaps. Are they, in your opinion, harsh or lenient?
Well, I sort of agree with Dave was saying there. It would make sense to have the same system in the two countries. You're never going to keep everyone happy. We've seen it with the Grand National, that with Ted Walsh and things like that. You're never going to keep people happy with the marks that the horses are given. So, it's a different case on a horse-to-horse basis. Some horses will feel some trainers will feel their horses have been harshly treated. Others will feel a bit lenient. But I think it's a very difficult job to do, to try and keep everyone happy. And there's always going to be people that are more happier than others, I suppose.
And David, I'm guessing you could probably give the horse you gave earlier on. We're talking about Irish horses that could be well treated this year. And I know you went for an English one, a Dream to Spare in the Pertemps. Have you got an Irish one that maybe you think's slipping under the radar a wee bit?
Yeah, I have a few, Gordon, that I think are really interesting. There's one in the Boodles on the opening day that it was 33-1 earlier on in the week. Metamorpheus, it's called, trained by Paul Nolan. Ran in a race at Naas a couple of weeks ago that has produced the winner of the Boodles for 4 of the last 5 years. Now, he only finished 4th, but I thought he jumped well. There went no pace and it turned into a sprint. I think he'd be better suited to a faster road race, and he's a huge price, as I said. He's 33-1. So I think he's really interesting in the Boodles. A horse trained by Gordon Elliott called Imagine. Wherever he shows up, I think this is a really smart horse. He's going to be off maybe 138 or 139. If he goes for the Martin Pipe, a race that Gordon absolutely loves winning, obviously worked for Martin Pipe in the early days. I think Imagine is a kind of a classy grade 2 horse that's going to be run off in a handicap off a mark in the 130s. It's a nice double figure price, around 14s or 16s for Martin Pipe. So I think he's interested, or if he runs in the Coral Cup either. And if he doesn't run the Coral Cup, HMSC horse, another Paul Nolan horse, who was a good horse at the flat. I thought he was good at Navan when he won last time, and he's got a touch of back class as well from the flat, so maybe him for the Coral Cup. So Metamorpheus, HMSC horse, and Imagine would be potentially my 3 Irish handicappers, Gordon.
And Rob, anything that's maybe got £1 or 2 in hand for you, the likes of the Pertemps, the Fred Winter, maybe the Grand Annual?
Yeah, I'll give 2 here, Gordon. There's one, actually, this one's definitely not under the radar, but I think it's one that will win. I think Stumptown for Gavin Cromwell, it ran a couple of weeks ago, and I just loved the jump, and I thought he was an absolutely fantastic jumper. So I think he's either going to go for the Kimmy or the Ultimate. I think he's about 6-7-1, but I think he will win. The other one, I was just looking through them earlier on, that sort of stood out at a big enough price. Now, I don't know, Dave might know a bit more about this than me, probably been up in Gordon's yesterday. Riviere d'Etel, he's quite a big price for a couple of races. He hasn't been seen since November. He finished last of 4 at Carlisle, which doesn't read very well. But he was obviously sent off second favourite for the Arca last year, was finished 5th in the end. But I just have a feeling this could be the plan for a while for this horse. Obviously, the Moran Zone, they've never had a Cheltenham winner. And I would imagine that's very high on Gordon's list of things to achieve this year.
Well, you're after doing something very important there, Rob. You're after giving Riviere d'Etel a sex change.
Oh, sorry,
she runs in the mare. She runs in the mare. She runs in the Mayor's Chase. And very interesting, Rob. And it's interesting that you know it. She schooled at Navan last week, or was a Fairy House? I think it was a Fairy House last week, and they've done little tweaks to her back, and they think they have her. They think they have her back right. Riviere to tell. I'm not quite sure. 2.5 miles on the new course in Cheltenham if she'll fully get home, but they definitely think they have her back right, and I wouldn't be surprised if Riviere to tell did start a much shorter price. Is at the moment for the mare's chase. She's definitely a mare, Rob.
Slip of the tongue, Dave.
I'm saying nothing. I make that mistake quite a lot. I'm saying absolutely nothing. Brian, then from your perspective, anything from these shows, particularly up north, that's maybe gone there with a mark?
The only thing I will say, Gordon, with the handicaps, quite often than not, if it's the horses that, when you look at the graded novices in Ireland, it's the horses that are finishing third, fourth, fifth, not beaten overly far, that the good horses won, and it's the second and third string of the big yards that ended up. And when it always looks wiser after the event. It was fourth to the horse that won the Supreme Novice, and it's come out and won the County Hurdle or whatever that may be. But the one thing I will say with the English handicapper, they are being a bit more realistic with horses, especially for the last season, probably since Cheltenham. You could win a novice on a horse and you'll think, oh, it'll get a high rating, and it gets a fairly sensible one. So I think that will bring the two closer together. And the English handicapper, I suppose, it would be Into Overdrive. I think he's near enough 8-1 joint favourite for the Ultima on the first day. Now that he is the sort of profile I think that would suit, like that has horses that have won that race before. He's still unexposed. He's improving. He was second to Lon Presse in the rehearsal, and he won the Roland Merrick, beating Sounds Russian, who's then come out and franked the form. Running up the backsides of the Grand National winner in the Many Clouds, and then Sound Russian's come out and been, so the form's quite strong. Sound Russian come out and he was second in the Cotswold Chase, and now he's going for the Gold Cup, and he's not the biggest price in the world for the Gold Cup. So on a line through all that, I think he could be one that could take a high rank. And then also in the Grand Annual, another Northern trained horse, Maalistic. He's not a bad horse. I rode him down there at the start of the year, and he boiled over in the beforehand, but he came back and he scoped bad. But he's won 2 decent handicap chases since, and then he ran up the backsides of Grenatina and a few others in the Game Spirit at Newbury on ground that I know would be far too quick for him. So he's a horse that he could be still a little bit ahead of the handicapper.
And just a quick fire question to you all to finish this segment. Rob, do you keep an eye on any particular trainer at Cheltenham for a handicap? Is there any sort of, you think, oh my goodness, yeah, I like that horse, it's trained by such and such?
Well, I mean, you can say that about the likes of Gordon Elliott, but I mean, he's going to have that many in the handicaps. It's very hard to sort of narrow it down to, you can't just back them all, do you know what I mean? But I think, yeah, look, Gordon will probably win a couple of the handicaps. Another one of his, I actually think just worth giving a mention to, is the Boss's Oscar. Was obviously second in the Pertemps a couple of years ago, and I think he's going to run in that race again this year. I would be interested in having a bet on him if that is the plan.
And David, have you got an Irish handicap specialist trainer, if you like?
Yeah, I'm going against him. The Irish specialist trainer is Charles Burns, who's got shoot first in the Pertemps final. He could be chucked in. Who knows? He won at the November meeting at Cheltenham and looked very good. I'm taking him out walking on air in the Pertemps final. But Charles, we've seen it time and time again with Charles, when he gets one ready for one of the handicaps at Cheltenham, he rarely misses.
And Brian, if you were getting a leg up for a trainer at Cheltenham,
I would ride any of Willie Mullins's, even the 5th string, because they could come out and win too. Anything he runs will have a chance.